I did not get the fall, but I got the aftermath.
Thanks, Ham.
Hello, I'm Patrick Lilly, and welcome to America's Top Agents, where we share real estate success stories. This month, we're interviewing my friend and marketing guru, Danielle Garofalo. Well, Danielle, thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. So this is a new episode for us in that we're not interviewing one of the top agents, we're interviewing one of the top marketing consultants who work with top agents. So Danielle's business is helping really great agents be more effective with their marketing and their branding. So 6 of her clients are the top 3 agents in their state, which is pretty amazing. And some of them, like Sean Osher and Mauricio Umansky, are huge. They're just absolutely huge, really producing out the window.
Yeah.
So, is that a good description of what your job is?
Yeah, I work with anyone from top agents to brokerages, developments, all around the world.
Yeah, you've had some fascinating stories about how you've helped clients, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about, how did you become a real estate marketing consultant? Because I'm pretty sure you started out as an intern in Disney. So how do you go from Disney to real estate?
So the interesting thing about real estate in general, but whether it's agent, executive, my role, is that no one really, that I know, has kind of started out in real estate. We all found kind of our path to real estate. So mine was, I started off as an intern at Disney. I was actually a Jungle Cruise skipper, which was great. And then I did all of these different marketing courses from Disney. So that's kind of where I got my foundation for everything that I do. I always say that anything that I do every day, the basis was from that internship at Disney, which is wild because that's like 2 decades ago.
Right.
From there, I went to work at IBM. And then IBM was rather interesting because, both Disney and IBM are really super corporate, I would say kind of very set in their ways. And so the interesting thing was I met one of my clients who was my client at IBM and asked me to go take a look at a house that they were selling. And the house is a 33,000 square foot home in northern New Jersey. And at the time it was $70 million. And I was like—
Which was probably the top sale in New Jersey at that time.
And I took a look at this house and I remember pulling up and thinking, what in the world am I going to teach the person who has this listing? And so having just a very quick conversation with them, it became apparent that the way in which real estate was marketed was so far behind what other industries were doing. So I went back to school for specifically focus on digital marketing. And then what I did was I started to kind of after I finished school, I started to make cold calls to top agents to tell them, like, this is what you need, this is where it's going. And the crazy thing about it was that nobody wanted to speak with me. There was an agent, top Sotheby's agent in Santa Barbara. She took my call. She had been kind of like at the forefront of all of this sort of new marketing that was going on at the time. This is 2011 or 12. And so she really was like gung-ho about it. And so what I did for her, I used as a template for every other agent I've worked with.
And what did you do for her?
So what she wanted to do was this whole new, at the time, kind of just think of that at the time, was how to put her listings in a better light online. So video was not a top thing at the time. So what we did was all, posts and still shots. And from there it went into like advertising and all of that, but it all started flowing from digital marketing. And then in New York, what happened at that time was, everything that kind of started in California made its way to the East Coast. It never originated in New York. New York, we have a very different way. We don't have an MLS. There's a very different way of doing business. So when brokerages started to kind of catch on to this new digital marketing way, I got a call. And that's how I rose through the ranks very quickly, because timing, I knew what the product was, and at that time everybody was still doing, I would say the split was 80-20 as far as print to digital. It's now, of course, the complete
Reverse.
opposite. So, but then no one knew what best practices were. So that is kind of how I got going.
And then how did you get to Core? Because you were head of marketing for Core for quite a while.
Yeah, it was interesting. So one of my clients introduced me to Stribling, which has since been acquired by Compass. And I sat with the owners of Stribling, and they
With Liz and Elizabeth?
Yeah, and Libba, who is this kind of like, oh my God, legend in New
Yes.
York real estate. I mean, she is.
And a lovely
Oh my
person.
God, amazing. And so for me, it was kind of just incredible to sit and, not only watch her work because of all of the, like all of these legendary stories that I'd heard about her, but it was great to kind of work with a brokerage that was, I would say, like very traditional. And so what we did there was we kind of, brought them, of course, with the executives there, we brought this new kind of thinking of digital marketing there. And so, when Stribling did that, then I had met Sean and Britley out at an event. And, what they kind of had as a structure, what I wanted to do as far as different markets, they were like, hey, do it as long as, we can get what we need from you here. And that was really what I was looking for, was kind of to break out of not just New York, but to Florida, Southern California. And so that was, that's where I got kind of the ability to do that.
And now you act as a consultant on marketing for
And now
Core.
I'm just strictly as a consultant. And so I work, with Core. I have, clients at Sotheby's, Christie, anywhere, any brand you can think of, any of these, brands, even a lot of different boutique firms will hire me for a short period of time. But pretty much any brokerage that you can think of, I've had, worked with, which is cool.
And I'm one of Danielle's marketing clients, and we talk usually most weeks, not all weeks.
Yeah.
And
You're very good, though. You're really good about keeping it. You keep a schedule, which is really, I would say, it's rare for agents who are not at that like 1, 2, 3 level. The difference between agents who are at that level is that they keep the same schedule that you do. The meetings with me are not flexible for them. They know that they need to make that meeting, and they do that. And you do that. I mean, it's kind of rare. You're not giving yourself enough credit. We meet at least 3 weeks out of the month.
Yeah, I would say we do. And we're going to talk about my successes with you, and we're going to talk about some of your other successes with much bigger brokers than me. But so we met at Core, we hit it off right away.
Away.
And because we both talk over each other all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody else gets
No, we
pissed
do
off.
laugh, I know.
It's ridiculous. People get like, will you please let me finish? And I say, no, it's to be a
Absolutely
little
not.
bit more
I will not.
interesting. One of the things about being in New York is you literally get to interrupt people. It's okay if you live in New York. It's okay. It's not considered
And we don't
rude.
take an offense to it.
Oh, God,
Because we
no.
know that, like, I have to say something important, you have to say something important. It's going to happen. It's going to get out. So
You
might as
can
well.
imagine. So our weekly meetings with the two of us and Jasmine, I think Jasmine must just
Poor
sit back-
Jasmine. She doesn't get a word in edgewise between the
She
two
just
of
must
us.
sit back and go, oi.
She's a saint. She really does.
Jasmine's the best. So so COVID came. Core changed the way they are working. You decided this was an opportunity to work more consulting, and you didn't have to be on site. And so you decided you were going to split your time between Florida and New York.
Yeah, I accelerated my snowbird status by a couple of decades.
So we're actually in your house in Florida doing this interview. We're going to show you your office in a little while. So it's great. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the excitement of New York City and the warmth of being down in Florida and a little bit more relaxed lifestyle. So it's good for you, and you can.
And listen, you know who I am. I always call and ask what the temperature is in New York when I'm down here, especially January, February.
That's usually when we hang up. That's when we usually hang up on you. All right. So we've become buddies. You've spoken at several of my conferences.
Yes, I loved every single one of them. Virtual and in person.
Virtual and in person. And you've been doing some Zoom calls with us. I want to talk about balance in your life. So
Well, this will be a quick discussion. This will be a quick chat. So it's funny that you bring up work-life balance because I heard a quote from Jeff Bezos, and he said, rather than thinking of life as like a work-life balance, you should think of it as a work-life harmony. That if what you do is what you love, then it kind of flows with the rest of what your life is. And so for me, I love what I do. I hear myself sometimes, and I see myself in meetings and Zooms, like I am super excited about this nerdy marketing stuff that I'm talking about. And I recognize that the way that I'm speaking about it is much different than the people around me, but that's what I love. So balance,
it makes sense that you're going to, if you really enjoy something, that's bringing you joy. If that's where your passion lies, why wouldn't you spend most of your day doing that? It's not like you have children. Well, you do have a child. You have Hamilton.
I do. Big, giant
Hamilton
hair.
Hamilton is whom?
The love of my life. He is a 95-pound sheepadoodle who is supervising here as an assistant director. He's a good boy.
Hamilton's bigger than most sheep.
Yes, he's like a horse-a-doodle, I always say. He's like a horse-a-doodle.
He's a sweetie. He's watching us.
He's watching. It's like, he's assistant director. Right, I'm watching. It's a good boy. He's a good boy.
So I feel like you're able to really be the fullest version of yourself, of what you like to do and what makes you happy. And that's what balance is, because I think balance is actually a really bad word. Yeah,
but you know what? That's why that quote kind of resonated with me. It is a harmony of what you do here, which is there's a study that says we spend 40% of our lives at work. And so if you don't love what you do you realize 40% of your life is miserable? And that's a really...
Like my brother who just retired from the government. Before everything happened.
Oh, okay.
He had really good timing. And he couldn't wait to retire. And that just made me so sad that he lived a life where he didn't really love his job.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people's lives are like.
Yeah.
Not just my brother. And my brother, was good at what he did. I think most people don't love their job, and why would you spend that much time? You need to support a family.
Yeah, that's why I think most people, kind of just close their eyes and do that because they.
But find your passion, even if it's less money. Find your passion and work your butt off.
It's different, right? Like, so I have always been kind of like tech focused, So not only do I consult with brokerages and developers and agents, but I work with new startups in the real estate industry. Sometimes it's real estate. Sometimes, I do have a lot of mortgage clients as well, which is interesting as, kind of different things happen in the industry and it shifts. They're looking more toward different lead gen. I'll have some of that, some title. But I do. I love, and I think because the marketing kind of consulting can be applied to different industries, which is why one of my other clients, one of my big clients, maybe this is like 10 years ago, was Christie's jewelry.
Oh, really?
I am a jewelry nut, and let me tell you, I worked with the head of private jewelry at Christie's at the time. Amazing man, super knowledgeable, gave me all of this kind of background information that I didn't know. And what they hired me for was to help him reach clientele that would be on social media to purchase because they don't do too much like advertising, large advertising. So that was really interesting. I got to go to all of these auctions and kind of tell them the best light to kind of present these jewels in. And then I got to try on some of the jewels sometimes. So, again, but it kind of, I love jewelry. And then, oh my gosh, here we go. Like I put that as far as work. So as long as you can have that harmony of, I love this and I can figure out the way to work. I
like that word, harmony instead of balance. I really like that, harmony instead of balance.
Yeah, I thought when that hit me, it was one of those things. You ever hear somebody speak at a conference or something, you're like, wow, that might be the one thing I'll take away from the 4 days. Out of whatever that talk was, that's what I took away.
And if you're out of the harmony, I'm going to say you're out of alignment.
That's right.
And that's where problems start to arise.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good point. Let's talk about some of your successes working with agents. I think we'll start with me because that's what I know the best, and then we'll go to some of your really big agents. It's interesting. One of the things that Danielle and I have been working on that has been very successful is this channel, America's Top Agents. And we really were able to figure out what I wanted to do. I was mostly clear on that, not completely. You helped me get clear on that. And then how do we do it? And you were really, really good so that, we're regularly getting 25,000 views on the YouTube channel. And we're just at the first half of the year. And we're continually getting more members into the networking group, America's Top Agent, which fits into what I want to do down the road too. So let's talk specifically about the things you suggested we do and some of the apps you came up with that made our life so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, AI has not only has transformed the world, but there are certain things within kind of what we're doing here that just cuts out hours of what you used to do. I mean, when you start thinking, when you use Opus, right?
Yes. Opus is the greatest thing in the world. Why don't you tell them what Opus is?
So Opus AI is a program that you put the video in, like you'll put this video in, and it will break down all of the segments for you without you having to sit there and edit and stop and put.
You know who's the happiest with Opus?
It's Jasmine.
No, Rob.
Rob? Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we had that discussion, right, about like how this is, and it's those little things that sort of change your life. When you hear about ChatGPT, yes, ChatGPT, Claude AI, all of these things are great. But there are programs out there that are specifically for the things like Opus AI that you do. And so that's we have this long content from the interview that we're doing now, and then Opus creates shorts that can be used on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And it's all done in a second. And I was just going to say, how long does it take?
Then Jasmine edits them and figures out where to stop it, and it's like maybe 10 minutes a week.
I was just going to say 10 minutes a week versus what you would have had to have gone through.
So and listening to Rob complaining about doing it, that's a win for both of us.
So here's what I will tell you about any of the wins that I've had for any of my clients, whether that's you or it's any of the agents that I work with, brokerages. This applies to every single one of them. Number one, they actually commit to doing it. That's a big thing, is to say, okay, I'm going to commit to doing it. And two is consistency. Most people think that when I do something, I've had people come to me, you know how big of a fan I am of LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many people have come to me after doing LinkedIn for like 3 weeks and they're like, I got nothing. It's 3 weeks.
And I would say that's not just digital things we're talking about. We're talking about mailers, anything. any sort of farming, any sort of marketing. You need to do it for a year and you need to budget it for a year.
And you need to do it consistently. You can't just say, I'm going to, every 6 weeks. Well, whenever I feel like it, but I did it for a year. No, you have to pick consistent times and meet those times and do it over and over and over again. And especially when you're doing anything online, it's almost impossible now to grow a following if you let me just post whenever I feel like it. You have to have a commitment to that first, creating whatever the content is. This is a big deal what you're doing here. This is massive. It's a commitment. And you are committed to seeing that it's consistent as well. And so that's why we hit those numbers. What I do is not I know sometimes my clients are like, how did you do that? It's all about being consistent. And so do I know what I know? Yes. Do I have this great background? Awesome, yes. However, the majority of it is just showing up and doing it all the time. So if you're not, we talked about this actually when you were like, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. I think the first thing I said to you was, are you going to actually do it? Are you going to commit to doing this? The answer is yes, then let's go. And that's how it works out. And sometimes with clients, so I have a client who is the #1 owner's rep in New York, the #1. He deals with clients like Steve Schwartzman and Bezos and think of a billionaire. He's they're his client. And when he came to me, he can't go out there and market the way that you and I would on social media. There's no,
Right.
they're not there looking for that there. And so when you start thinking about what are the ways marketing, the most powerful marketing in the world, do you know what it is? It's word of mouth.
That makes sense.
And so how
makes
you
sense.
can find the ways then, there are ways to do marketing that increases word of mouth. So, but again, if you're not going to do this consistently and you're not going to do the background to get to here, then it's not going to work.
So let's shift a little. Let's take something that you've done a lot of marketing over the years with and branding with Sean Osher, who's one of the best brokers in the world.
Hands down.
Hands down. He's brilliant and he's a good person and I really care about him.
Yep, ditto.
The thing for me, Danielle's with America's Top Agents was I saw that there was a niche that wasn't being served. I felt like that's where the opportunity lied. And it aligned up with what my strengths were. And it also aligned up in terms of harmony because then I'm able to travel with Rob to each of these places and we love to travel together. So it was true harmony and it lined up with something that was an opportunity and how could I not move forward with it? So let's talk along those lines about with some of your other clients. So let's take Sean. At some point, you guys decided a blog would be a blog when people aren't doing blogs anymore. It's interesting. You're going against the trend there. And talk about what was the opportunity, how did you guys realize it, and then what were the things you needed to focus on?
So one of the things, I will say this in general for kind of all marketing, is that people tend to go with just the trends, right? So everybody started a podcast. Okay, great. Everybody got rid of their blogs. Okay, fine. But that doesn't mean that people tend to think that when they're going to do something, I am speaking to everyone.
You're not.
Everyone all at once. When in reality, once you name kind of your audience and who your audience is and see where they are and see what they kind of most, what I would say they consume most, then we build the marketing and like whatever is next around that, right? So for Sean, his clients they're not out there kind of like checking out videos and doing, stuff like that.
His clients are major developers.
Major, yeah. Like these are the top developers on the planet. And they know Sean, his reputation for what he builds. And so when he has an opinion on something, especially if it's not going to be this long, Sean's blog is not it's kind of like a thought. It's never longer than kind of a 5-minute read, which is not that long when you think about it.
And the name of the blog is Padkos.
Padkos, yeah. That means it's South African for food you take with you on a journey. So Padkos is food for thought. And it's really, for him, that's perfect because Sean is, South African and, it's just, so for Sean, that made sense.
So what was the opportunity with the blog for Sean?
The opportunity was that everyone speaks to their agents in the way that speaks to their clients, in the way that they consume. So I hear video, I went to a conference, I heard that video is great, I'm just gonna bombard with video. Not paying attention to the fact that maybe your clients actually aren't there. Maybe video is not the best way to speak with them.
And when we're talking about clients, we're talking about clients and potential new clients.
Yeah. And so for me, when I look at this, so I'll give you an example actually how this works for both Sean, who's a top, it doesn't even get any bigger than what Sean's business is. And then I'll tell you a new agent. So Sean's opportunity was in blogging because not only just like I'm going to put it up online, actually that's not where we get the majority of, his interactions. We did it on LinkedIn and we did it via email. So Sean's open rate is crazy big because that's how his audience consumes content. They're not there looking for some cool video with like great music. They're not there for that. That's how they consume content. And so we defined the audience first and then saw the opportunities that were available to how to speak to them. The other thing, and I'll take it, people can look at this and say, well, he's established, he's known, like this is, a new agent at Core came to me, and the guy has a huge finance background, huge VC, like all of this. And so he starts talking to me about like restaurants and videos and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, walk me through what you used to do. You want those clients who are in finance to now be your clients for real estate? You tell me what they need to do. Like, tell me what you used to do to attract them. Well, when I worked with them, we used to do all of these reports. Okay, great. So what we did was, forget the videos about restaurants and the neighborhood and all this other stuff. What he did was on LinkedIn, I had him break down each neighborhood in New York and New Jersey where he has both his license, and break it down exactly like he did with his financial reports. This is what the neighborhood year over year, this is, the square footage, this is that. Breaking it down in a very boring to, content-wise type of thing. Within the first 3 weeks, he had clients because that's what they expected from him. And that's
the way they consume information.
And that's the way they consume information. It's what they're used to. So you need to meet people, you need to meet clients where they are, not where you are, and bring them.
And so you're saying that many of Sean's clients would consume information through email primarily.
Yeah.
And how has the blog grown over time? How long has it been going on, and how's it grown?
We are now 5 years into the blog. We started off with, I'm not going to get into the numbers for him, but we started off, and I would say, especially we've had year over year, we've grown 90%.
That's substantial.
Yeah, it's, but there's a method behind it. It's not just like Sean writes a blog, passes it off, and we do. We work all month long. That's my role, all month long on keeping the engagement there, especially on LinkedIn, which is where it's grown the most, especially there, not just on like the Sean Osher site, but on LinkedIn and via email. We're meeting them where they are and giving them the content that they expect.
I think that's a really good pearl, is focusing on how does your ideal client consume content, and then address it through that apparatus or media. Let's switch to Mauricio Umansky.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that he was facing, and then how were you able to help him?
So I had known Mauricio a while, but never
and
really
he's a good
worked
guy. I've never met him. He's a good guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
Right?
He's the best.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
he's, exactly like when you meet him, like, hey, I'm meeting you at an event. That's exactly who he is, like behind the scenes.
Oh,
like
okay.
he's just, he's the same guy. So we had worked together on a project that he was doing, this new trade organization. I had helped him and Jason Haber with that. And then Mauricio came to me at this really incredible opportunity through Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has a new project called Fireside. It's by invitation only, and he chose Mauricio.
So it's a networking group.
No, it's a social network.
Okay.
And it's for kind of like education and, really like you get to listen to Mauricio. You join Mauricio's channel and you get to learn things from Mauricio there and do Q&A with him at a price that's insane. It's like $350 for the whole year to do that. So the challenge was, especially now in this, there's this is a crowded space where there's coaching and there's everybody's now a coach. I heard somebody say at a conference the other day, yeah, all now it takes is for you to sell one house and you're like a coach, you're a pro. So how do you take someone like Mauricio, who has this, incredible business between being a CEO and then his own team, and like you look at that, how do you dial that down into just digestible pieces to, kind of teach weekly, especially with interviews. So we have been working on that. This project is one of my favorite projects to get going. So unfortunately, with the beginning of this year and the fires in LA, we've had to pause a little bit. But now building this project again, I could get like very excited and nerdy about it, but it is one of those things that it's a new challenge. It's something that I've never built out a network quite like this before. I've built out coaching platforms. My coach, Andy Allen, my client, Andy Allen, in Austin. When I first met him, probably close to a year ago, he had an idea for a coaching platform. He said to me, listen, and in all fairness, most of my clients who come to me will say, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. So that's kind of, it's awesome for me. It puts a lot of faith in me. It's also a lot of pressure because I want to make sure I deliver for them.
Well, as a real estate broker, you know what you know and you know what you don't know. And you're,
the top ones, absolutely. Yeah.
That's why you hire somebody who knows what they're talking about. And if you don't trust them, why did you hire them in the first place?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's an element of a top producer, is realizing when it's better to go out of house or even within house, but to delegate it to somebody who actually does it better than you and who knows more than you do. And I would say that's the sign of a really wise and smart broker, as opposed to so many top brokers who feel like they're the smartest, pumpkin in the world.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is why I named my company Think $1 Billion, which is TBD, obviously, is that it's a mindset. And I've worked with, my clients have my agents, forget about the brokerages and developers, a lifetime sales total of over 100 billion sold. 100 billion with a B. And what I realized after working with them now for, well over a decade, is that they all have this thing in common. With what other $1 billion brands outside of real estate have. They know how to keep a short message short, they know how to tell a great story, and they know how to share it in the proper format. And so for me, when somebody jumps on board, if they're not tight with those 3 S's, we get them tight with, telling quickly, telling the great story, and then sharing. And so
how are you getting Mauricio to share his new platform in the right media or forum or the way the content?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So with Mauricio, it's kind of, he does have this, great platform, this large platform, whether he is, and the other great thing about Mauricio, and I'll tell you this, like, hands down, of all the people I've ever worked with, you want to talk about like no ego as far as like, if this blog that he's going to, be featured on has, this many followers, or if this podcast is a small podcast, he doesn't care. He'll do anything. And I've known agents who are like, I'm not going to do that. That's not a big podcast. He doesn't care. He'll meet because you're an agent, that's his audience. So he'll meet you wherever you are, which is, I can't tell you how rare that is. It's a very cool thing to work with. So how we get it out is, what Maurice, where he is, right? Where he is typically always speaking with agents. This has nothing to do with it. This is completely separate from the agency. So how do we get him kind of on message? And what we do is we show what Mauricio is a self-made guy. So that's inspirational to every agent who looks and is like, you know what, how can I build, maybe not in the numbers, like Beverly Hills has these astronomical, like $100, $200 million homes. But wherever you are in your market, whatever your price point is, you could be the Mauricio or the Sean in your market. And so it's finding the way to say, okay, well, I'm Mauricio, this is what I did, this is what I know, this is how I can train. Like, that's what really good educators do. And so he's not only a great entrepreneur, he's a great educator, and that's, kind of put that out there, whether it's on a blog or a podcast, just not only putting it out there, but he's supporting having him on your podcast, gives numbers. And so he's very, excited about doing that. So that's kind of how we push him out everywhere. If you're an agent, he's excited to chat with you.
So let's go from the superstars and let's go to a more regular agent. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you think agents are making around marketing and branding?
So let me give you, someone I work with, I've worked with a bunch is, do you know Glenda Baker?
Know the name, but no.
So Glenda Baker is by far the most followed agent on TikTok, Instagram. I mean, she has a massive following. She came here to see me, and she's like, I don't really know what to do. She has all of the success online. And so where do we go for, like, how do I, And so the thing is to kind of take a look at what you do, and it should all fall under the umbrella of this brand that you have. It should never be, what Glenda had was like a bunch of things that were kind of like separate from each other. And so what we did was we tightened it up and we put it under this whole umbrella, and now her brand is, you know, kind of rolling along. And Glenda is in a market where, you know, it's Atlanta. You don't have, you know, we work in this, you know, Palm Beach, Miami, Aspen, Beverly Hills. These numbers are kind of like otherworldly numbers. And in a market that's Atlanta, which is, you know, there's large affluent pockets, but volume is the thing. So, you know, it's a matter of kind of getting down what your messaging is and being true to, I hate this phrase, but I'm going to say it, kind of being authentic to yourself. Like, don't go out and try and be the next Sean, right?
That's one of the things that I've learned throughout all these interviews is each one of these top agents figure out what they do really well, and they stick to their lane, and they do that and delegate everything
And
else.
also they don't try and be someone else. Like someone who goes out and is like, well, I've just watched Sean on a podcast. I've just watched Mauricio on a podcast. I just watched one of Glenda's thing. Do you know how many wannabe Glendas are in my feed of like, and it doesn't work because it's so not you. So people can tell. People can tell when the thing that you're doing is not your thing. So find the thing that is yours. Like Sean's thing, this blog is so great. It's so authentic to him.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be the top agent in your market to make something like that work. So it's just a matter of finding your thing and being the best at it and being consistent at it and sticking with it. All those things sound super easy, but I swear to you, it's really difficult to kind of get agents to do just that.
So another thing that we talked about earlier about being successful or unsuccessful is if it's working, why are you changing it? And let it be known, Danielle is an ESTJ. We've had Brenda and Chip and yourself all interviewed as ESTJs, and you guys don't like change. I mean, you will make change, but you know you're happy not changing. And let's talk about how that relates to your business in terms of somebody tries pay per click for 2 months, and then they switch and try Zillow for 2 months, and then they try whatever, restaurant videos for 2 months. And because
those are my favorite.
And nothing's ever clicking. Talk to me about when it makes sense not to change.
The first thing I do with any client is to sit down and do an audit of what they have so far. And
An audit of what?
Of all of their marketing. So I have them send me everything from mailers to newsletters to online, literally anything they've ever done. Send me a picture of a billboard that you put up. And then show me the results. And so in these audits,
I bet you get, like, I have no idea what the results are.
you know, it's one of my favorite parts of what I do is to sit and be like, what the hell? Like, what was this? What were you thinking? Actually, I had a client in New Hampshire who had so much information at once, and then he went to like no information because he's heard of like being simple, and it was one word on a postcard, and it said love, and then it was his agency at the bottom. And I held this postcard up to him in a Zoom, and I said to him, what the hell is this? Is like the creepiest love letter I've ever got. So he was like, I don't know. But what I do is I look at these things, and I would say it's almost every single time there is something that worked really well that they stopped doing. And without a doubt, that's the first thing I will go to. I'm like, why did you stop doing this? Well, I mean, I had to change it up. Why?
It's a good point.
Why? If it's working for you. I mean, listen, and Rob could tell you this. When you're doing a workout, if you do the same workout over and over again, your body gets used to it, right, Rob? Yeah. So your body.
Wait a second. Why did you ask Rob about working out and you didn't ask me?
Well, because this guy.
I'm joking.
I cry when I see his videos. I'm like, I couldn't even kick a weight that. So. When your body can't do the same exercise over and over, it gets used to it. And at some point, that's the same thing with marketing. However, you should keep doing the marketing until you don't get any more results. Stopping it Just because you think you should change? Nope. If you are doing something, I mean, this is what agents who are watching this can take a look and do. Go back through your marketing. See what worked, see what didn't work. Go back and do all of the things that worked again until it stops working. And then we change.
Something like 40 years, I mean, maybe it's not 40, it was a long time ago, many, many years ago, Brenda Wade in Tampa, suburbs of Tampa, had a logo made for her for $45, and she's used it ever since, and her whole community knows that knows that logo. And according to her, and she's right, why would I ever change that? This is the best return on investment ever.
Ever. And so that's the thing, is that, you know, for logos, it may be a little different if people want to evolve. I mean, although you look at the thing that Jaguar just did, and, you know, God rest Jaguar. But, I mean, you think about the things that, like that, that's, you know, that's, oh my gosh, I recognize her. That's familiar. That's, you know, now I know what that, I'm talking about the messaging. I mean, if your messaging is working, please keep doing it.
Right.
You know, yes, there are times. So I have a client in Hawaii. She's the #1 agent in Hawaii. She is a machine. I adore her, Tracy Allen. And one of the things that when we started looking through
is
her
she
marketing,
in Oahu or Maui or where?
Yep. She is just unbelievable with the, I mean, you know, you take like the main road there, that's like their Kohala. She's pointing out to me, I've sold this house 4 times. Like, it's, you know, that is the sign of someone who is, and her messaging in the beginning when we sat down, everything was Tracy's the #1 agent. And she is, and that's how they know her. But at the end of the day, we needed to put something else in there that was kind of like, she's the #1 and here's what she'll do for you. And so just by changing that little bit of messaging, it really has sort of resonated, and it kind of brings her up. So has she stuck with what's working? Yes, it works to tell people you're the #1 agent.
Well, that was a smart shift,
in the
because
whole state.
before it was about her and now it's about the client. And that was a really smart shift without losing her branding throughout this.
Exactly.
You guys handled that well.
So we did. I mean, and we still, yeah, exactly. So we keep with the #1 and then we added on something to it. And so it doesn't change what she's done that's worked. We're just adding something a little bit
it makes
in
it
here
fuller
to do it. Yeah.
So if you were going to give some advice to any agent out there of what you think they should be looking at or concentrating or putting their focus on, what would you say?
So start with your audience. You need to define your audience and who your ideal client is, and who are the, you know, who is it? Is it, you know, empty nesters? Is it what, like, you give me the ideal client. And then we also work with your client. You also shouldn't say to me like, hey, my ideal client is a townhouse millionaire or whatever, if all you've sold are in high rises. Like, you can make the transition, but you got to be realistic about how we can do this. So that's why, you know, it's a huge kind of like undertaking, and that's why most people don't do it, is to look at all of your marketing. What's worked, what hasn't, not just for this month, not just for this quarter. Do it, if you're going to do, especially if you're going to be really serious about this, let's do it for a couple of years. Let's go back and see.
Let's go back to the beginning.
I was going to say, let's go back and see. It's like, you know, what Sean always tells people is go, you know, it's no different in a sense of, hey, you know, go back and look at your last 5 deals. Tom Ferry does the same thing. They work a roadmap back to your last deals. But with your marketing, it's a lot more, it's a lot more of a heavy lift. Because something, for me, what I think I do well is to have this ability to look at just a little phrase and just a little piece of your business, and we turn that into a campaign. You know, especially with, like, I do this a lot with brokerages. I did this with Illustrated Properties, which is, you know, South Florida's largest privately. One of the things that we sat down and talked about was they were just illustrated properties. And so the campaign that we came up with for them is Life Illustrated.
Oh, I like that.
And I presented this to them, and this is, you know, it's
I like that.
Right? Like, honestly, after sitting there and talking with them, you know, Danielle Dennis is a great guy, he's a president down there. It's Life Illustrated.
That's
and
brilliant.
that is a very, you know, it's like, what were you trying to do? And they're trying to put all of these different, whether it's golf or whether it's this, that's life. And so, you know, that is kind of like, it's a hashtag, it's a campaign, we can build around this. Every agent has that. I'll just put with Tracy, what we have in Hawaii is we don't list homes, we sell them. She sells 100% of the stuff she lists. It's absolutely insane. And if you have that, and then we talk about things like elevator pitch, statement of value, marketing is a huge piece other than, hey, let's just throw a piece of content up on Instagram, or let's just throw a piece of content up on YouTube. You and I, we sit regularly and we go through these things in depth. So my advice to anyone is that if you are actually going to do marketing and you're not going to work with me or another marketer or whatever, you need to be prepared to spend the time.
Yeah.
Because very often people are like, I can do that. I know you can do that. You can. And I'm sure there are many people that are in the position that they're in that can be in the top part of their market. But the second part of that is, do you want to? Do you want it bad enough? Will you do the work? There's actually, in sitting there and saying to yourself, it's not the question of can you, it's will you. Mark Cuban has a really great, you should act like he said he worked, like someone else is out there 24/7 trying to take away what you have. In real estate, there is. There is an agent who's working 7 days a week. There is an agent who's meeting with their team weekly, like you and I do.
By the way, do not work
marketing.
7 days a week. That's
no,
ridiculous.
No, but I'm saying, but this is what, but I'm saying is that if you're just going to dabble into it, you're not going to be even close to what the mark is that you're trying to hit. You and I meet weekly. We do this weekly. We sit down, we have a time. I will tell you this, the agents who are my top agents, I rarely get a call from them to say, I have a showing, I can't do this. My meeting with them is just as important as a showing. And if you're going to have a big brand and you're going to have a whatever, your marketing needs to be just as important as a showing. Maintaining it, making it, expanding it. Any meeting that you have that is with marketing should be just as important as your client meetings. And you can do that. You can say, sorry, I can't meet with you here. I'll meet with you an hour later. I'll meet with you an hour before. But this is a meeting that agents who are on this level, they don't break.
It makes sense. Again, consistency.
Consistency.
One of your hallmarks.
And priorities.
One of your hallmarks.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, Paula, hi Paula, has a really great team in New Jersey, and I feel like she could really benefit from an audit by you. Will you take a client on just to do an audit of their advertising?
Yeah.
And talk about, help them to get focused? And if they could audit all the way back to the beginning, that would be great. And then if they want to continue to work with you, they can or they do not.
Yeah, I don't have I typically work with agents for a 3-month set. I have a pretty, kind of like regimented thing that I'll work with them for. And then I have agents who keep me on for like, hey, this is working. Like we want to keep going. We're going to keep like Sean, Mauricio. Like I would say the majority of my agents are like, hey, this 3 months isn't enough. We need to have you on as like a consultant, just even to call or something like that. So I do that.
Who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone who is, I don't care where they are. I don't care if they're the top agent. I don't care if they're just starting out. My ideal client is someone who is going to look at me and say, I am willing to do whatever it takes in this to improve it. Not whatever it takes, meaning 7 days a week. I am willing to look at myself and say, this is wrong. That's right. Let's do this. Let's improve. I'm going to be consistent. That's my ideal client. It's surprising. You might, I love to work with a top agent. If that top agent is just going to sit there and say, nah, okay, well then I'm not your person. But whoever the client is that sits and is like, let's figure it out together, or you tell me and I'll do it and I'll be consistent with it, no problem. I sit with executives like this too. Presidents of brokerages, large brokerages. And we do this with them too. How are you selling your product internally and externally? I coach a lot of executives. So.
What brings you joy?
Oh, my family, my friends. And if you are one.
And by the way, Hamilton is part of your family.
Well, I was just going to say that's my child there. But if you are one, if you are my family, you're my friend. And if you're my friend, you're my family. So that for me is
We're down here staying with Dan. Rob and I are staying with you, and you've been the perfect host. And
Hamilton is very, very welcoming host too. He loves you guys.
He's exuberant. He's exuberant. He's definitely exuberant.
He loves you. But yeah, that's, I mean, hands down. I mean, if I talk about, so my friends and my family are everything. My parents, my siblings, niece and nephew. But I think of this, and I also think of maybe things that are outside of that, like travel. That brings me tremendous joy. Whether it's
I would say
trip,
your work brings you a lot of joy too.
and my work. Oh, that goes without saying. My work is, I love it. I love it. I hope that comes across. Sometimes it gets frustrating. Listen, and this is not to say I don't get frustrated too. If messaging isn't working, I just asked you about an agent. I'm like, why isn't this place in New York selling? And you gave me the market thing. And so it's not necessarily a me thing or a them thing or a message thing. It's a market thing. So it's not to say that I don't get frustrated, but man, when we hit on something and then that thing starts working, like when your YouTube channel started, man, and then, and then it's time to really turn it up and let's go. So that for me, come on, that's, work-wise, doesn't get better than that.
Thank you for meeting with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for being my friend.
Oh, Patrick, my family.
Thank you for being one of the only people that lets me interrupt them all the time and enjoys it.
Well, you and I literally, we're adding something. I'm not taking away.
It's not a fight. It's not a fight.
Yeah.
It's a contribution.
Yeah. And we're like this. Listen, we're like this no matter where we are.
Yeah, it's true.
This is what our meetings are like.
This is true. They're fun. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Big hugs.
I really enjoyed this episode with Danielle. I hope you did too. And if you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next month.